Welcome, everyone. We'll give others a few more minutes to join. While we wait, I will answer some of the questions that were submitted during registration. They're all related to our topic today on AI. The first question is, where is the AI engine located, and is it GDPR? So great question. We use the OpenAI API platform, which includes a data processing addendum to support GDPR compliance. You can find that at openai.com/policies, and I can share a link to that. Okay, so that link is available now for you. Grist Labs hasn't completed a formal GDPR review, but we do take data privacy seriously, and we follow security and privacy practices that align with GDPR, including with sub-processors like OpenAI. The next question, is it BYOK for the new AI assistant? If yes, which one do you support? BYOK is supported on self-managed Grist and is available with enterprise plans only. We officially support OpenAI models that provide function calling and structured output, such as GPT-4o. Other models or providers may also work, but we just haven't tested them yet. Question is, can I integrate this with dify.ai? We're not familiar with dify.ai specifically, but if the question is just about connecting Grist to AI agents for workflow automation, then yes, Grist has a REST API that should support that. There's no official integration with dify.ai that we know of, but if it can connect to external APIs, it should be possible to build a custom integration using Grist's API. And then the last question, is this also available on the desktop version? No, the desktop version of Grist is made to work completely offline and does not include this assistant or even the original Formula AI assistant. But if you prefer not using our hosted version, you could always self-host. So some options there. And then I'll share a link to the community forum. Great place to ask any questions you may have. I'll just share that now. We can go ahead and get started. So hello, everyone, and welcome to our May webinar. Last month, we learned all of the workings of creating invoices in Grist. We even covered how to modify the code to customize colors, fields, and even add a logo to the invoice. You can find a recording of that webinar along with all of our previous webinars on our YouTube channel. They're under the Build with Grist webinar playlist. A recording of this webinar will be available there as well sometime next week. In today's webinar, we are going to meet the new Grist assistant. Previously, we had the Formula AI assistant, which specifically helped with formulas. The new assistant helps with so much more. So that's what we're going to explore. The assistant is now available within the Documents Tools menu. Here at the bottom left of the navigation panel. If it's hidden behind the community forum link, just close out that link. It'll minimize that box, and then you should be able to see the assistant listed under tools. You just give that a click and it opens. Now, usually at the beginning, I would give you an overview of the document that we're using for the webinar, but instead we're just going to ask the assistant to do that for us. So we'll just say, can you explain this document to me? It's given us a bunch. So here it's telling us the different tables in the document, and it's listing out all the columns. Now, do I want to read through all that? No. Let's tell it to explain it like a person. Okay, so now it's breaking it down a little more simply. Okay, so imagine this document, it's a digital organizer for a sports league. That's correct. It helps keep track of people, teams, and the games they play. So then it's going to break down the different tables. So we'll look at each table as we read through its explanation. So here we've got the people table. The assistant, you can change its size. You can shrink it this way. You can widen it. You can also minimize it. And if you click the X to close it, it'll still be available here on the left-hand side. Okay, so the people table has first and last names. So you know who everyone is, has the team, so you know which team they play on, and phone and email so you can get in touch with them. Okay, that's a good overview of that. Moving into schedule, it says think of this as the league's calendar, and it shows home and away teams for who's playing against whom, the scores of the game, when the game is, the court that's being played, the status, who won. There we go. We've got a schedule. And then last but not least, we have the teams. It's telling us it's like a leaderboard and it tracks the team name, wins and losses, and then win percentage. So yes, we have a pickleball league. It's showing our teams, the people of those teams, and it's showing our schedule. That's the overview of the document. Okay, so moving into all the cool things that you can do other than have it explain the document to you. You can actually use the assistant to complete data cleaning tasks. So when we were kind of clicking through, I don't know if you may have noticed that the people table is a total mess. Everything is entered in different cases. I want this all to be consistent. Often this happens when you have different people entering different data, they all enter it differently. Some use title case, some use all caps, some use lowercase. It's all over the place. So you can actually use the assistant to just clean it up. So we can ask it to update the first and last name columns to be title case. It's telling me it's going to need to modify the data in those columns, capitalizing the first letter of each name and making sure the rest are lowercase. Would you want me to proceed? Yes, it will confirm changes often to make sure it's on the right track. Yeah, looks good. All of our names are now in title case. Great. Well, now we can look through the rest of the table. I'll move the assistant here. The email address is a mess. Let's just do that one in lowercase. You can just talk to the assistant like a human. You don't have to be overly specific with things generally. If it does need more information, it's going to ask you. There we go. It's already updated that to lowercase. And then last, let's update the phone number so that's consistent too. Honestly, you could tell it to just use whatever format, to pick a format and make them all match. I'm going to tell it the format that I want. There we go. We see it's all updated in the phone number column. Overall, this table looks much better than it did when we started, when everything was a total mess. Okay. So another thing you can do, obviously we have a whole list of people. It's easy to end up with some duplicates. We can have it check for duplicates and even have it delete them. Now I'm telling it specifically the people table. It knows the page that you are on. It does not know what's selected on that page. So if you have multiple widgets, it doesn't know which widget you're talking about, but it'll use context clues to figure it out. I just specifically said the people table because that's the one I want it to look at. And it's telling me that I have several people who are appearing twice. If you need help managing, let me know. Yeah, we want to delete them. Okay, it's deleted them. Now, because I made the document and I intentionally put the duplicates in there, I knew all 3 duplicates were on the bottom here, and it did correctly delete them. Now, if it's not sure which one it should delete, it will ask you. It'll say, hey, these are the 2 IDs for the duplicates. Which one should I delete? So if it's not totally sure, it will ask. The assistant can still help with formulas, just like before. We can have it add a formula to the full name column. I'm not even going to tell it what I want the formula to be, but it's going to actually use the fact that it's a full name column to assume that it wants to be full name. And so it's now added this formula to create the full name from first and last name. Easy. Cool. Our people table is looking great now. So you can also add some flair to your document. I would have never thought to ask the assistant to do this, but Nick actually did this for our newsletter announcement, and I thought it was brilliant. You can ask it to add emojis to your document. So I'm just going to click over to the Teams table just so we can see it happen. You don't necessarily have to be looking at the table to make changes to it. And we're going to tell it add some appropriate emojis to the end of each team name. Some suggestions. Those look really fun. Yes, add those. And so now we have emojis on our team names. So credit to Nick for that one. I thought it was really fun. While we're on this table, we do have wins and losses that are formula columns. If I click into them, and let me minimize that and scroll in so we can see the formula. The wins formula, short, fairly straightforward, especially if you're familiar with lookup records functions. And then the losses formula appears to be much more complicated. There's a lot going on. If you're ever working in a document with some formulas that are already set up, just like this, or if you're looking at any of our templates, you can actually have the assistant explain the formulas to you. So I'll just tell it, explain the wins formula. So we can see more of it. The formula for the wins column calculates the number of wins for each team. Yep. And here's how it works. Uses len function to count the number of records in the schedule table where the team is listed as the winner. And this is where we actually look up the schedule entries where the winner column matches the current team's ID. One thing it's not telling us is that this winner column is a reference column that references this table, and that's why we're using ID. And then here it just gives in simple terms, it counts how many times each team has won a match by checking the schedule table. And if you want more clarification, you can ask it. What we want next is actually to explain the losses formula. Okay. So let me pull up the losses formula. We're going to do it on the side here so we can see, roll out a bit, so we can see more of it while it explains it. It calculates the number of losses for each team. Here's how it works. First, it gathers completed games. And so that's what this first line in the formula is. It first collects all the games where the team played as the home team and the match status is completed. And so that's this first portion. And then it also collects all the games where the team played as the away team and the match status is completed, and that's this second portion here. These two lists are combined into all games. So all games where the team is either listed as the home team or the away team and the game has been completed. Now this next line, this is the more complicated bit. It's counting the losses. It filters through all of the games to count how many of those games the team did not win. And then it's telling us specifically, it checks if the winner of each game is not the current team. And that's what this portion is. So if this team is not the winner, it counts as a loss. So it's explaining both of those formulas to us. Fantastic. I will be honest, the current version of the assistant is not great at writing these lookup formulas yet, which is why I'm using it to explain the formulas rather than having to write them. But the assistant is always improving, and we're working on a bunch of improvements right now, thanks to George, who is in the chat. And the next iteration of the assistant can correctly write these formulas. So those changes are coming. It'll be able to write even more. I will have it write the win percentage formula today, so let's tell it that. Okay, and it's telling me how it's calculating this win percentage. Great. I am going to change the column type. So you do that from the column tab of the creator panel, go down to column type. We'll change it to numeric because there is a percentage option. And then I just want to set decimals to 1. Now, as you see, it's some insane number, and that's again because it's multiplying by 100. It was already creating the percent, whereas Grist will do all that too. So I'm just going to tell it, update it to not multiply by 100. Okay, and now we're correctly seeing a win percentage. So now we can actually sort this column, Z to A. To sort, you hover over the column header, click the little arrow, apply the sort Z to A, and save. And now I can easily see how the teams are ranked. We're going to jump over to my this week page. This shows all of the matches this week. And then under my assistant up here, I have a calendar that shows upcoming matches. And when we look at it, it's only showing in 30-minute time slots. If you don't have an end time for events in a calendar widget, it assumes that the events are 30 minutes, so it shows that amount. And that's because we don't have an end time, we only have a start time. So we're gonna use the assistant to add an end time. And that's done in the schedule table. I could do it on this page, but I'm just gonna do it on the schedule page where we're focusing just on the schedule. So down here, I already have the column set up, ready to go. We just need to tell it to create this formula. So what I want it to do is just add 90 minutes to this existing date and time value. So we'll tell it calculate end time. Okay, and tells me that the formula has been added. And there it is. If I click into it, I can see it's just adding 90 minutes to that value. Awesome. And I can jump back to my calendar and see that it appears as a 90-minute block now, which looks much nicer. Now, if you're not familiar with the calendar, you do have to set up some configurations with the columns that it's getting information in. I already had end date and time entered here, and so that's why it just automatically updated. But if you're you add the formula and you're like, oh, why is it not updating? Come over here, make sure that you have that column selected for end date. We can also add data to our document using the assistant. So we'll create a new team. So I'm just going to jump over to the team page so we can see it happen. And I'm actually going to have the assistant come up with the team name. So I'll say add a new team with the punny pickleball name. And it should also be Grist related. Gristy Dinks. Yeah, sounds good. And it already added the emoji for me, so it kind of matches the rest. Perfect. Okay. Well, now we want to add people because we need people for this team. So I'm just going to, again, jump over to the people table just so we can see it happen. But you can be talking to the assistant on any page and you can still do these things. Let's add 2 new people. Okay. So I'm just telling them the names of the 2 people. Nick B and Natalie M. I'm giving it phone number information, and I'm telling it to just add an email in the same format as the rest. I'm going to shrink that up. Okay, so it adds Nick and Natalie with the phone numbers I gave it, and it creates the email addresses following the same format that the rest of these are in, which is first name dot last name at pickleballers.ex. Well, now we actually need to add them to the team we just created. So add these 2 new people to our new team. Okay, so we see that it's throwing this red error, and that's because this is a reference column, and the assistant doesn't know what to put into this reference column. When we work with reference columns, we actually use a row ID, and so we can just tell it whenever setting a reference column, use row ID, and I'll tell it to try again. But now it's going to remember this for the rest of the time I'm working in my document, that whenever it's setting a reference column to use row ID. So I probably won't run into that error again in my document. So it's a good thing to let it know right away, especially if you plan to add things to using reference columns. Cool. So we created our new team. We've got 2 new people on that new team. Excellent. Now let's try asking it something that I know it can't do. Jumping over to the This Week page. On our home score and away score, I already have some conditional formatting that bolds the higher score. But let's tell it to add some conditional formatting and see what happens. Okay, so I'm telling it to add conditional formatting to the home score column. If this value is greater than the value in the away score column, then it should be bold and green. So right now it's just bold, not green. So we would expect it to turn green. Okay, and so it's telling me there's an issue with its attempt. That's because it can't actually do conditional formatting. And it's telling you kind of the steps to do it, but not really. You're going to set it up manually by going to the home score column settings, adding a conditional rule. Well, how do I do that? Okay, and now it's actually giving me step-by-step instructions on how to do it. So the first set of instructions, if you know how to set conditional formatting, they're decent instructions, but if you've never done it, you don't know where things are, ask it, how do I do that? And it will give you step-by-step instructions. So obviously we already have the document open. Select the home score column, open column options, and then add conditional formatting. So find the section for conditional formatting. Way down here, I actually already have conditional formatting, but then it's telling you the condition to set. So if home score is greater than away score, and then choose the formatting option. So it's giving you step-by-step instructions how to do it. Even though it can't do it, it can tell you how. And then finally, you can ask it general questions about your data. So let's see, all my teams should be double. So let's see, are there any teams with only one player? Ace Ventura currently only has one player. So I would have to reach out to that player, find out who they're playing with, so I can make sure that their information is entered in the document. And then let's see, who are the top 3 teams in the league? And it's giving me the top 3 teams based on their win percentage. Fantastic. So a lot of cool things that you can do with the assistant. Just some general information for you all. If you share a document with multiple team members, they are not going to see the messages that you sent to the assistant. So this is my personal thread with the assistant. If someone else is in this document, they wouldn't see that. They just see their own messages. Your messages will stay visible to you as long as you use the same non-private browser and you don't clear your browser data. And then a quick overview of what the assistant can and can't do currently. It can answer questions about your data. It can create or modify records, and it can help with formulas. Again, it knows which page you are currently viewing. It cannot create or modify tables, columns, views, or access rules. Again, the add, modify, delete columns is coming. So keep an eye out. It also does not know if you have something selected on the page. So on this page, we have multiple widgets. It doesn't know if I'm in the away team widget or if I'm in the schedule widget. It doesn't know what I selected. It just knows I'm viewing this page. So again, we are actively working to improve the assistant. So please share your feedback with us. We appreciate it. Feel free to share that in the community forum or Discord, whichever way is easiest. As I mentioned earlier, its knowledge around formulas is getting better. The next iteration can accurately create those 2 lookups that we only had it explained today. And again, adding, updating columns is coming soon too. If you are on a free plan, you get 200 lifetime credits. Pro plans include 100 credits per month. Business plans include 2,000 credits per month. Each chat message costs 1 credit. So let's see, how many messages did I send? Okay, so today I sent 28 messages, so that would be 28 of my credits. So just keep that in mind when you are working in your documents. The credits are for the entire team if you're on the pro or business plan. They're not per person. Same with the free plan. If it's a free team, it's 100 total credits for the team, and then free personal is 100 for you. If you need more credits, there are 2 upgrade options that are available. It would be via the billing account page for your team. And there's 500 monthly credits for $10 per month, and that is per team, not per person. And then there's another option that's 2,000 monthly credits for $29 per month. So if you need a bunch of credits to really get your documents set up, there's options for you. I will share a link to our Assistant Help Center page. It answers a lot of the questions around the assistant. It also has information about those 2 upgrade options that I mentioned, as well as just all the general information about credits that I rattled off. So it's all there for you. It lists what the assistant can and can't do. But that's the end of it. If you have any questions, feel free to post them in the chat. I do see at the end there was comments about changing the header style. If you click on a column in the creator panel here in the column options, you can change the header style or the cell style. And so you would click, and then you can bold, underline, italicize, strike through. You can change the text color, the fill color. And so you can do that for header, and you can do that for the cell. Is it possible to use access rules to limit access to the AI assistant to a specific group? So if a user's access to the document is limited, they won't be able to use the assistant. It does require full document access to use. If I prompt it in French asking for help, is it going to answer using the French names in the GUI? There we go. It does look like it'll answer, yeah, in the language that you ask it in. Now, one thing with the assistant, if you don't like the change that it made, you can always undo it. So I'll use the people table. So I just made the first name all lowercase. I decided I don't like that change. I can tell it to undo it. And it'll undo it. Of course, you still have the undo button at the top as well. So you can do that as well. Can it draw a schema of the data using mermaid.js? There we go. It can do what you were looking for. Okay, well, if no other questions, we will go ahead and end our webinar. Thank you guys. Thanks for joining. Thanks for your great questions. And have a great rest of your day. We'll see you next month. Bye, all.